All right. Hey everyone, happy Friday. It is the 30th day of the legislative session, so we are officially 1/3 of the way through. Really glad you could join us for some updates about the legislative session and ongoing work from the Montana State Library. As always, we have some fantastic Zoom tips from Colette. Hope you'll all rename yourself. Go ahead and stay muted, but I always appreciate opportunities for dialogue. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask questions as we're going forward, please just let us know. And you'll see my smiling face and a few other smiling faces as we go forward. So I love seeing your videos if you're willing to share. So we're going to do a legislative update, and I'm really happy that Rachel Ron and Alyssa Wallenties, the chairs of MLA's Government Affairs Committee, can join us today to share some of their perspective on how things are going at the legislative session. We'll have a brief update about the State Library Commission meeting that took place this past Wednesday. Tracy is going to share some updates about work and some questions that the commission heard regarding our ongoing federation study. And then Jen Burnell is going to join us to talk about some updates from the Montana Memory Project, aka the Montana History Portal. So just a quick legislative update on our state agency bills. Most interest to all of you is House Bill 91, the bill to reauthorize state aid to public libraries and to extend that funding to tribal college libraries. That bill is now passed the House. And I think one of the most exciting things for me this session is the vote margins on this bill are the largest that they've ever been. This is the third session in which we've carried state aid bills. And this is by far the widest margin of vote. I think historically we've had about 2/3 of the legislators support the bill going forward. And this session we have more than 75% have supported the bill in votes. Again, just a reminder that that bill includes an increase from 40 cents to 50 cents per capita with the addition of eligibility for tribal college libraries. One of the changes, one of the amendments that has happened on that bill in House Approps is that an amendment was added that requires libraries that receive this funding to provide at least a 1-to-1 match. Practically speaking, for public libraries, that amendment has no impact because public library standards already require that local governments fund libraries at least 70%. And in Montana, local government funding amounts to about 95% or more of your funding. So for public libraries, that's really a non-issue. What this does mean is that tribal college libraries that could receive these funds would then have to provide a 1-to-1 match. And the amendment is explicit in the language that says it has to be a cash match, not an in-kind match, and that it cannot come from state or federal funds. This amendment has caused some consternation. And while initially in our communications with some of the tribal college librarians, they felt like they could support this amendment, I know some have raised concerns about this amendment. What I know at this point is that the current status of the bill includes that language, that amendment. There may be an effort on the Senate side to remove that amendment. And the state library is comfortable either way. So don't expect to see more discussion about that particular amendment as the bill moves through the session. But we're essentially halfway there on this bill. Our other agency bills are moving through the session just really smoothly. Our real-time network bill is going to be up for floor action here in the next couple of days after having really positive votes in a policy committee and then in Senate Finance and Claims. Similarly, one of our bills to revise some of our existing statutes passed unanimously out of the House Natural Resources Committee, and it too is awaiting floor action, and then with those actions should move on to the Senate. So things are going well with our state agency legislation. In terms of our budget requests, I'll let Alyssa and Rachel talk a little bit more about some of the budget requests that MLA has made during the budget hearing for the state library. We did have our budget hearing on Tuesday morning, and it was a nice positive budget hearing where we were able to talk about some of the future goals and objectives of the Montana State Library and received some nice words of support from committee members for the work of the state library. So we really appreciate that. The budget subcommittee will start considering decision packages next week, next Wednesday and Thursday. So at that point, they'll vote on any decision packages proposed by the governor in House Bill 2, as well as recommendations coming from committee members. And thankfully, there's a committee member who's supporting some of the recommendations coming from MLA. So there'll be a chance for the subcommittee to vote on those recommendations. And then House Bill 2, the budget bill, has a ways to go. It's still, once it gets out of subcommittee, we'll have to have action in House Appropriations and then the House floor onto the Senate. We'll have a hearing in Senate Finance and Claims, the action on the Senate floor. So that particular bill has a ways to go. I'm going to ask if there are any questions about legislation at this point. Okay. We had a really nice turnout at Library Legislative Night this year. It was held in the Capitol Rotunda rather than at the State Library. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the Montana Library Association and the Government Affairs Committee, as well as the Trust for Montana Libraries. It was wonderful to be able to co-host that event with MLA and the Trust. I don't yet have a full count of how many legislators were in attendance, but we had just a really nice attendance from legislators, and many of them came and stayed. So it was a nice opportunity for us to get a chance to visit with them, many library supporters, as well as people who are just generally concerned about the service of libraries and had some important feedback to share with all of us. I'm going to turn things over to Rachel and Alyssa. A word from the trenches.
Hi, everyone. After showing that picture of me, Jenny, you're making me talk now.
Yes. Oh, it's a great picture of you and Senator Temple.
So it's been really great working with the Montana State Library on all of this, and MLA has our budget proposal that, as Jenny mentioned, the subcommittee will be working on making a decision on next week. They asked at the hearing that we prioritize it, so we've been working on that. Right now, we were looking at our priorities as being the ongoing ones, which would benefit them, or the one-time only ones, actually, which would benefit the most from one-time only funds versus some of the asks that would not benefit as much from one-time only funds, because they would be a big job to get off the floor. And then if they didn't receive continuing funds, would not be able to be used anymore. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the ones that we were looking at as the benefit the most from one-time funds would be the hotspot program as kind of a stopgap while we're trying to find further funding for the hotspots, the Montana Library to Go, which we can put extra money into now, and then if we don't get the same funding again, it won't destroy that program. Alyssa, which other ones am I missing? Because I am not looking at anything right now.
So we also broke out, I think, $85,000 for the Montana History Portal. And that could be used one time only for things like digitization at the local level. That's what I've got for the big three that we talked with Central House Strategies about having the most potential for passing in the political climate of this subcommittee, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was great to see everyone at legislative night as well. It's also been very fun because the state library keeps sending us these wonderful newsletters from past government affairs committees, and it's fun to be part of that tradition. I think, should we talk a little bit more about some of the other bills we're tracking?
Yeah.
So the big one that most people are going to be aware of is House Bill 234, which is a revision to Montana's obscenity laws to remove exemptions for, right now it's schools. It started out as schools and public libraries and museums, and they took public libraries and museums out, but unfortunately it has passed the House with schools still in. So I think we'll have more opportunities to provide comment on that in the Senate as that bill is heard there. And we've had a lot of local support from people who have sent emails to legislators, and we would encourage you to continue doing that. We're also tracking several bills on mill levy revisions that would limit either how long mill levies can stay in place, or would change the requirements for what majority of people need to vote on something or be present in an election for a mill levy to pass. So we're tracking that because that would impact our mill levies for libraries and library districts. And we're working on other things that have come up this session, like a bill to ban drag performances in public library and schools, which, as stated in our resolutions, that type of legislation undercuts our local authorities for boards. So we're opposing it on that basis. Rachel, what else have?
One other thing that's been an issue with the mill levy ones is that they place a limit on how many years you can go without having to renew your mill levy. So I think right now we're getting libraries exempt from one of them. We're trying to get libraries exempt from all of them, if not just outright murder those bills. But that would mean that if you rely on mill levy funding, you would have to have a campaign for that every 6 years or however many years in the bill language. So that would have a big impact on a lot of local government.
So please keep an eye out for emails and ways you can provide comment or testify for things like that. Also, right now, we're really hoping to hit the MLA's funding proposal real hard in the the Joint Appropriations Subcommittee, the education part of that budget. So if you're interested in contacting legislators from that committee to support funding for all of Montana's libraries, please give us a shout if you would like any help doing that. And is there anything else?
I think we'll be sending out an email soon with information about the subcommittee proposal and asking for people to contact subcommittee members.
Great. And we are tracking as well an attempt to remove funding for the state library in certain areas and redirect it to other locations, which we are very opposed to, and we'll be reaching out to you about that as necessary here as well. But thank you all for all of your support.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa and Rachel, and everyone. I just cannot tell you what a fantastic job Rachel and Alyssa are doing, and other members of the Government Affairs Committee. And we're just so blessed to have Central House Strategies as the lobbyists for MLA. They're doing a phenomenal job. This session has seen far more legislation that could impact libraries than we've seen in many, many sessions. And so to have everybody leaning in and tracking bills and coordinating people to testify in hearings and just making sure that all of you understand what's going on and have timely information so that all of you can take appropriate action. It's a huge job, and they're doing such great work. I encourage you to continue to really pay attention to any communications you see from them, because it's always going to be very timely and very important.
So just a quick question for everyone's benefit. When emails go out, do those go out through the wired listserv, or is there another place that folks should be paying attention to communication from the Library Association?
We're sending most of our emails out through Wired.
Good.
I have a quick question as well. This is Jennifer. I just need verification. Did you say that the one-time only spending was not getting traction, or it was getting traction? That was my hang up.
I think I'm not sure on which one would be getting more traction, but because the subcommittee asked us to prioritize, we looked at it as two different line items of like, these are the services that would benefit the most from one-time only funding versus the ones that would benefit really only if we had continuing funding for them.
Yeah, like an example of that would be the courier system, where we thought that, requesting one-time only funding for a courier system to build it up and get things going for 2 years only to lose funding after that wouldn't be as productive. But I think right now we're asking for one-time only funding for most of our top 3 things. So the hotspots, the Montana Library to Go resources, and the Montana History Portal, because it seems like that sort of funding is more palatable for the committee. Instead of asking for, a years and years and years commitment, we're asking for 2. But Jenny, please.
That is the information that MLA gave to me, and that I was asked to prioritize for the budget subcommittee, and that's how I presented it. Sort of, if what is palatable is one-time only monies, then these would be the priorities. If there is interest in ongoing funding, as they said, some of these services would really only benefit from ongoing funding, then this would be the prioritization. What I can tell you that the budget subcommittee reviewed today was a one-time only proposal for the hotspot program. And then all of the other decision packages are for ongoing funding at this point. That doesn't mean that can't change, and that there might not be continued negotiations through the budget committee process. So, but that is sort of what ultimately the legislative staff then developed and presented to the budget committee today. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Look at that fantastic photo. I can tell you I've never had a luncheon like that in DC. So as we were saying, please stay informed. There are so many bills that have the possibility of impacting libraries. It's really paramount that you keep tabs on communications that are coming from either the State Library or MLA Government Affairs. This is not the session to be complacent. Keep an eye on the website, and when asked, please take the opportunity to reach out to your local officials. So just a few updates about the State Library Commission. Our commission did meet this past Wednesday morning. It was a little bit shorter meeting just because of all of the legislative activities that are taking priority right now. But I did ask Tracy to join us. One of the things that they discussed in the meeting were some questions that are coming from our Federation Study Task Force about some of the things that the commission might think are important, especially around the Federation plans of service and the Federation reporting. So Tracy, I'll let you share that update.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. So the Federation Task Force has met twice and had some really good discussions. And at their last meeting, they talked about the kind of the paperwork process and somewhat the structure of federations and the role of board members, believing firmly in the value of board members being a part of federations and being the voting members, but kind of questioning some of the, I think, holdovers from the days when federations had headquarters libraries and the trustees would chair meetings and so forth. And some of what they were suggesting involved changes within administrative rule, and some of what they were suggesting involved changes to the reporting process and things that go before the State Library Commission. And so I asked for time with the State Library Commission to just kind of reach out to them and talk through what they find most valuable about the presentation of the budgets with federations, about the presentation of the annual reports, and then just to get their kind of feedback about some of the proposed changes with the Federation Task Force. And so the commission talked to me quite a bit about, setting goals and some of the value they see in getting reports from Federation libraries about how the money is spent. However, I really heard them talk a lot about the recognition that there are a lot of 1 to 2 person libraries and wanting to reduce some of that red tape and some of the work that libraries have to do. And so as a result of the conversation, I kind of took notes on what I was hearing the commission say they valued the most. And I'm going to kind of present a few different options, and I'll start with the Federation Task Force, which will be meeting in March, and kind of get the Federation Task Force's feedback, and then take that back to the State Library Commission, just to kind of have them look at a few different options and kind of identify which one they thought met the needs of the commission in terms of their decision-making and their authority, but also hopefully streamlined things for the federations, particularly the coordinators, and for all of you librarians as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that people might have about the Federation Task Force or the commission meeting.
Thanks, Tracy.
And thank you, Colette, for sharing that information in chat.
So the next meeting of the State Library Commission will be at your Montana Library Association conference that Wednesday, the same day as some of the pre-conferences. And at that meeting, we're planning to have some more library-focused agenda items. We are going to do kind of a deep review of our state program report on how we spent our recent Library Services and Technology Act award, as well as a wrap-up of how we've spent our American Rescue Plan Act dollars, our ARPA COVID-related funding dollars. We'll have some continued discussions about the Federation Study Task Force. Given Tracy's schedule, we're planning to have some of those discussions during the commission's conversations with the commission session, which is going to be Thursday morning. I hope we'll also have an update from Colette and the work of our continuing education task force and other content really focused on all of you, since we'll have a chance to be together at that conference. All right, let's take a quick stretch break and then we'll say hello to Jen with her updates about the Montana History Portal. Let me just take a moment to ask if there are any questions that we can answer. All right. Jen, take it away.
Hey. So you're looking at what is going to be the new look for the Montana History Portal page, and we're very excited about our name change and our new look. One of the things that we're excited about with the name is just that it better reflects who we are and what we do. And one of the things that I get asked most often when I'm out and I mention that I work for the Montana Memory Project is, how are you going to help me with my memory? What dementia resources do you have? How do you help people with Alzheimer's? And that isn't really what we're about. And so our name is really much more reflective in that we are about the history of Montana, but we are a portal to all the museums and libraries that have contributed content as well. So we're very excited about this name change. We are also very excited about the new look of the page, which is going to be reflective of our new logo for the State Library, and also have an embedded menu at the top of the page so that you can get to other content from any page. Right now our menu system isn't very good. So we're updating several things when we release this new update. You will see this new look live, hopefully March 2nd. That's hopefully because we test it next week. And as long as all goes well, hopefully we'll be able to transfer all those changes without anything breaking. So fingers crossed that will go smoothly. I also want to share a couple of things about our stats recently. We have seen a huge uptick in our use, which we're very excited about. And I'm going to put the link to our dashboard in the chat so that you can take a look at that yourselves. We have had just last month 100,000 page views of our website, which is just phenomenal for us. That's huge. We had 12,000 people last month visit the boarding school, or excuse me, this year visit the boarding school exhibit. And we attribute that to the 1923 series, the Yellowstone series, the prequel. In that prequel series of 1923, they're showing scenes from boarding schools in Montana, and people are searching for that information to see if I'm sure to verify that it's true, that it happened, and they're finding our exhibit when they conduct those Google searches. And so we saw 9,000 views of that page alone last month, which is phenomenal. And it makes me feel really good that we're providing some accurate historical content and context for people to see that. So that's very exciting news. In the first half of this last fiscal year, we've reached 5,433,356 people on Facebook, which is phenomenal as well. So we feel very good about the direction that we're going and the use that we're getting. And I also wanted to announce that we launched our writing contest last week. And so this is our annual writing contest. We've been doing it for 3 years now. We partner with the magazine Distinctly Montana. They publish the winners on their web portal. They also provide prizes, and so they have provided gift certificates to their store. They have a Distinctly Montana store where we sell Montana products, which is pretty exciting. And then they have promised subscriptions to each of the winners of their magazine, their paper magazine. And the Museum of the Rockies has also submitted some prizes for passes to their museum. So between those two things, we're very excited about the launch of that. I got my first adult entry today. Yay. We're hoping for some more entries to come. So And you can check that out on our website under the contests link on the homepage. On our other homepage, not this one. Our old homepage. Anything else, Jenny?
I think that covers it. Any questions for Jen? We're really excited about this whole new branding.
Me too. It's gonna look so good and so fresh, and I think it's gonna be easier to find.
Yeah,
One of the things that's
absolutely.
noticing is that people dive into an exhibit from our Facebook page, and then they don't look around. But I think it's because they don't know how. Like they don't know, they don't have the tools to do that. This is not very helpful on the left-hand side. So these few buttons that are here. So having these new menus across the top, I think are gonna make a huge difference.
And just to reiterate, Jen, when people go to the site right now, they see what they've been used to.
Yep.
And then said after March 2nd is when they'll see this new look and feel.
Yes, exactly. And that image may not be the same image that we've been just playing with, that one image of these guys threshing. We will have a carousel there still. But this is the general look and feel of the new site right there.
All right. As always, we hope you continue to reach out to the State Library and stay informed on our work. Our work is only successful when we can engage with you. So please reach out, keep tabs on our work. We're going to keep tabs with all of you as well. Again, final ask, if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop anything into the chat or unmute yourselves and we can have a more open discussion about anything we talked about today or anything that you maybe heard about that you want a little more information on.
We'd also love your feedback on our sessions. And so if you wouldn't mind filling out that evaluation form, I dropped the link into the chat just now.
I wanted to share with you a new slide in the website chat, a link to some of our program dashboards. I think you all know by now that we really value data-informed decision-making, and we've made a very, very concerted effort to collect more information about the impact of our services and to share that information with all of you. So hope you'll consider taking some time to explore some of the dashboards. This great work comes to us from Rebecca Camp and her work with her colleagues to help share this information. All right. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you to everyone. I will close our recording here in just a few moments, but again, we will have a recording for you to watch or to share with your coworkers and employees a little bit later this afternoon. And we just so appreciate you taking the time to be with us this second Friday of each month. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon.